The Medici, godfathers of the Renaissance, is an incredibly clever idea, telling the story of the Renaissance through the Medici as a family, as patrons, and who turn what would otherwise be a rather dry art history show into something that has personalities, has roots, has family, has dynasty, has blood, guts, men, women, children, and which has vitality. It's a dream come true to be able to work in Italy. We made this film documentarily in and around Florence because those are the accurate places where this story occurred. The dramatizations, however, we chose not to do in Florence. We decided to take our operation to the much lesser known East Coast, and that's where we found the most pure, magnificent, medieval hilltop society. Ofania, where we shot the majority of the reconstructions, is as authentic as it gets. It was like stepping back in time. And most of the characters that you see in this film are farmers, they're dentists, they're bakers, they're members of the community who were prepared very kindly, very generously to come and recreate our story for us. I think that films like this benefit a lot from using non-professional actors. It is actually a question of getting a sense of Italians rather than shooting it in a studio in New York or London where you're asking people to play Italians. One of the most memorable moments was the scene in which the men of Tuscany, the old men of Tuscany, boiled like nuts, line up outside Lorenzo il Magnifico's palazzo. And it was very hard to get the older people of the community to come and play. And I was determined that I would have their faces. They look like they absolutely remember the Middle Ages themselves. There is a sword fight which takes place in the central government, and only 2 people in that scene are stuntmen. All the rest are members of the community. It is a testament to how professional those locals were prepared to be. The murder in the cathedral scene, which is the highlight of the second hour and in many ways one of the most famous scenarios in Italian history, certainly in Florentine history, was frankly a pretty terrifying one to try and undertake. We storyboarded this sequence to have about 50 shots. On any given normal day in filmmaking, you can look to shoot 25. If you're shooting something more complex, which involves action and blood and stunts, you're down to about 12 to 15. We had to shoot 50 in this one day. How we shot those 50 shots in that one day is frankly a miracle. The murder in the cathedral does involve quite a lot of stunts. The most major stunt of all is the stunt in which a man is hurled off a balcony and has his neck broken as he falls. There is a degree of danger involved in each jump. If you want a second jump, if your cameras don't quite get it, and he needs to jump again, he's incurring a potential life-threatening accident. We shot it once. We just got every camera in rather than risking the life of the stuntman over and over again. I think the great triumph of this series in many ways is the production design. The production designer is, by origin, an opera designer, and I think it shows. I think one of my favorite scenes is the scene in Hour 2 in which there's a classical dinner. And he produced this absolutely beautiful set with exquisite costumes in it and these classical nymphs dancing in the foreground. And I saw for the first time what I thought that Botticelli might have seen as he was trying to consider the birth of Venus or Primavera. It is a conceit that I made up, but which I believe is an appropriate spirit of the time. The building of the Duomo is a unique time in the 4 hours because it's a time when we used computer graphics. There simply was no other way of telling the story of a cathedral without a dome and the struggle that Brunelleschi went through in order to complete the dome. I hope that what we've done here is give a notion of what it might have been like to see the dome quarter built, half built, 3/4 built, and the critical moment at which it might actually fall down and bring everything crashing down around it. This series has barely scratched the surface of the Renaissance, and in many ways has barely scratched the surface of the Medici as a dynasty. They are worthy of 40 hours, 400 hours of filmmaking. It's such a rich, rich, rich territory. I hope that what we've done here is we've made it accessible. It's only 4 hours. It's got some of the greatest names you've ever heard of. It has history and art history blended with superb music and a narrative storyline that is gripping, involving, and should make you want to know more.